Episode 459 with Mr. Tom Arguello is brought to you by a couple different things. The first one is Amazon. I want to thank you guys for supporting the show by buying everything you buy through our Amazon link. That really, really supports us and helps us tremendously. A lot of people think that they have to buy health-related items, but that's not true. You can buy anything on Amazon, and if you bookmark our link, that would be an amazing way to support the show and make all of your purchases through our Amazon link. So the way it works is that you can bookmark the link and use the bookmark every single time that you make a purchase on Amazon. You can think about the work that we do here at Extreme Health Radio, and you use that bookmark every single time that you make a purchase. It doesn't matter what you buy, and we will get a little commission that will help support the show. So that's super helpful, and we really appreciate that. And we appreciate you remembering us every time you go to buy a book or something on Amazon. We appreciate that so much. So thank you for that. There's links to that on this show page, and I'll say what that is in just a second. And also, do you guys want to dive deeper into your health questions, into your health challenges? We are launching a really cool members-only community website here pretty soon. It's going to be a limited thing. We highly recommend, if you guys want access to two amazing people. One is a former medical anesthesiologist who has been practicing medicine for over 20 years. The other is a naturopathic doctor who has been practicing for 40 years. And we take your health questions. We have an amazing community in there. We've already got over 24 hours of content. There's a forum, a place to make friends with people and share your journey and healing stories. We're going to be doing classes and online lessons and webinars, and we're going to be diving deep into your health questions and helping you regain your health and achieve a very, very high level of health. So this is a private membership community. If you'd like to join it, it's called Perpetual Healing. And there's a link at extremehealthradio.com/459. Thank you so much. We are very excited. We're back. Another edition here of Extreme Health Radio. Very excited to be here. We've got Mr. Tom Arguello on the line. We're going to be talking about cancer and his transformational healing journey through cancer. And I'm really excited about that because I think one of the things that we get, caught up in, I think, in our culture is that we talk to a lot of people who have a lot of different theories about cancer and how it's best to heal cancer. You know, in the traditional model, most people will say chemotherapy, radiation is the way to go, surgery and stem cell treatments and all this kind of stuff. But in the alternative model, people have all different kinds of theories. But it's fun to talk to people who have actually gone through the journey themselves and actually get to share what worked for them and what didn't. So we're going to be talking to Tom in just a second. If you guys would like to join and listen to this show on the website, you can do that at extremehealthradio.com/459. It's crazy. We've had 459 shows so far. I can't believe that. It's nuts. But yeah, 459, and then you'll be able to get access to Tom's website and listen to the show on the website itself. So I would appreciate you guys doing that. Let's see. Is there anything else to get to? Oh, we broadcast 3 days a week. So if you guys would like to subscribe to us, we put all of our shows on Instagram, on Facebook, and I think Twitter, and YouTube and iTunes. So if you guys want to subscribe on those platforms, you'll be notified of all of our shows coming up and all the shows that we do. So subscribe on there if you want to be up to date with everything we have going on. And today we have Mr. Tom Arguello. He's got a really cool website called transformwithtom.net, and I found him through his Instagram account, which is also really cool. He's got a ton of followers on there. The Green Health Project on Instagram. So that's really cool. So thank you so much, Tom, for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Justin. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm a big fan. Long-time listener, so it's really cool to be on talking to you.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I kept seeing you through, I think, Instagram. I think that's how we originally got connected, and then I'm not sure if you reached out to us or vice versa, but I was just looking at your story and your website and everything you have going on, and Oh gosh, what a cool story! An incredible path and transformation you've been through.
Oh, thanks so much. It's a little over 3 years now, and I'm still on the journey. I'm relatively, new in the grand scheme of things, having it only been 3 years. But I'm so grateful for what I went through. I actually tell people. I have a saying, I say, thank God for cancer, because it literally saved my life. And whenever I tell people that, it kind of, sets them off a little bit, because, why would somebody thank God that they got cancer? Well, it's a long story, but, it really did save my life. I was, starting at the beginning of my journey, growing up, here in South Texas, I had a very, very poor diet and lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And as the result of eating the standard American diet, I had developed all sorts of health conditions, from fatty liver disease, metabolic syndrome, high anxiety, high stress, the whole 9 yards.
Were you actually diagnosed with all those things? You went to the doctor and they told you that you have these things?
I did. Yeah,
wow.
And I had originally gone for high blood pressure and hypertension because my family has a history of heart disease. And my blood pressure was super high. I had hypertension and all of these other conditions. It's kind of interesting, because I didn't get diagnosed with all of these things all at once. They kind of came in spurts. So first I went for the high blood pressure and hypertension. Then I was diagnosed with fatty liver disease after some blood work, and so on and so forth. And in my mind, looking back on it, these were signs, warning signs. Hey, something's not right. You need to stop. Again, something else happens. Here's another warning sign. This is your second warning.
Now, how old were you when this was going on?
Yeah, so it was all diet and lifestyle related. I was addicted to soda, rarely drank any water. And looking back on it now, I'm just like, how did I survive?
I often wonder that. Isn't that crazy? I look at people and how they live their life and what they eat, and I often wonder, man, our bodies are so incredible that we can survive all of that.
Exactly. Your body is fighting for you to keep yourself alive in spite of all the junk that you're feeding yourself.
It's amazing.
So it's
right?
really crazy.
Yeah.
So, after I was diagnosed with all of these conditions, ultimately the big one came, and that was really, really my wake-up call. But, what I really needed in my life, looking back on it, was I needed healing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just the cancer that needed healing, but it was me, my entire self, mind, body, and spirit. I had suffered through bouts of, anxiety, depression, just a total, I've kind of been an outsider as far as like my beliefs, as far as my opinions, and I kind of never fit into any mold, in society. And
I think we can all agree with you on that one. I tell you, I swear, so many people write into us, and we feel the same way. You just don't feel like you fit in anywhere.
Exactly. And, as a result of my journey, I'm finding more and more so that I don't fit into society as it exists in some aspects, but there's a whole other group of fringe dwellers like me, that I am glad to call friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just really unhealthy inside and out.
And what year was this, and how old were you at the time?
So the beginning of my sort of health crisis, when they started, was around 2010. And so I was actually diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks before my 37th birthday.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's kind of funny how that works.
Wow.
Right. That was a cosmic birthday present that I received.
Yeah. 2 weeks before your 37th birthday. That's crazy. So,
yeah.
Wow.
And, the story of how I, detected cancer and how I was diagnosed, I mean, it's really crazy. I had noticed an abnormality in one of my testicles. After a long drive, a long road trip, I used to travel a lot for work. And, I came home in the middle of the night and, was taking a shower, and sure enough, I found something. I found a lump, and I was freaking out a little bit, and I didn't get much sleep that night.
Did you feel any, prior to that, did you have any pain, or was it?
No pain at all. So what I felt was a stiffness, very unusual feeling. And so in my mind, I'm talking to myself, I'm saying, okay, it's probably nothing. You might have an infection. You'll go to the doctor, get some antibiotics. And I was thinking to myself, well, let me just wait a couple of weeks and see if it gets better. A couple of weeks turned into a couple of months. A couple of months turned into almost a year later.
Oh, wow.
And so every time, I just I felt it getting firmer and firmer and firmer. And finally, it did start hurting, especially, if I accidentally, brushed up against something, or, it was very, very sensitive. And it got to the point where I finally just came to terms with it, and I said, I need to go take care of this. I've got a wife, I've got 3 kids, I've got a lot of responsibility, and I just need to get this done. So I was out of town in Minneapolis for work, and I had made an appointment that Friday. I was coming back on Thursday. I made an appointment that Friday. So all week long, it was weighing on me heavily. And when I got back, the last appointment that they had was about 5 o'clock. I believe it was around 5 o'clock. Last appointment of the day with my urologist. I walk into the urologist, tell him what's going on. He does a macroscopic, inspection. And sure enough, I could see it all on his face.
What is a macroscopic inspection?
Well, he's, just kind of feeling it, inspecting the area. And,
okay.
And, immediately sent me over to the ultrasound technician. And again, after the ultrasound, I could, read it on her face that it wasn't good. Wasn't good news. So I get diagnosed, or potential cancer diagnosis at this point, but the urologist tells me, there's a very good chance that you have testicular cancer. So I'm, he schedules me for surgery right away, rushes me in, for the following week, cancel all your appointments type thing. And, the sky is falling. And of course,
wow.
When they put the fear into you like that, you're going to do whatever they say.
Yeah. And so he said there's a very good chance, but it wasn't even 100% confirmed, yet he wanted to do the surgery.
Right.
Wow.
And so, he sends me home again. So this is around 6 o'clock in the evening, drops the cancer bomb in my lap, and I have to just kind of sit in that news all weekend long and stew in it. And I'll tell you what, that was one of the lowest points of my life at that point. It was a very hard weekend.
Wow, I bet.
And so, looking back on it now, the worst day of my life actually became the best day of my life because everything changed for the better. But in that weekend, I went through every stage of grief, from, anger to just outright rage and just sadness, terrible depression, to finally coming to terms with it. I had to come to terms with it quickly, because, I had to take some action.
Right.
And it was during that weekend where I just kind of fell to my knees, and I just, I just kind of prayed, and I said, please, God, show me the path to healing. Whatever I need to do, let me do it. Show me, show me the way. And I was born and raised Catholic, and, kind of in and out of the church, and I didn't really have a spiritual practice to speak of. And so I was just kind of putting it out there, whoever's listening, please,
Wow.
please hear me and help me.
So at this time, you were not necessarily practicing any kind of spirituality, and your life was probably very stressful and hectic, as well as eating a very poor diet and just kind of not fitting in, and just things weren't going well in terms of your own health.
Absolutely.
So
I needed healing all the way around.
So your diet was what at the time?
My diet consisted primarily of fast food, and I'm talking, for the past 37 years leading up to that point, it was fast food. Of course, my mom, growing up in a traditional Hispanic family, made a lot of, Hispanic food, delicacies, like enchiladas, rice, beans, tortillas, and
all the stuff that tastes good.
Yeah,
it tastes great.
I've got some ideas about that stuff. You don't necessarily have to give all that up, but there's a way to make it clean.
Right.
And my wife, she's always been a great cook. So she made a lot of scratch food at home, but at the time before we transitioned our diet, it wasn't necessarily clean. So it's good, better, best,
Right.
between going out to eat or cooking at home, even though the ingredients at the time were not necessarily clean. And so, I just had a very acidic, environment internally and in body, mind, and soul. I had a high stress job at the time, and I needed a change. And cancer was that wake up call for me.
Wow. And so at this point when you were diagnosed, or actually the doctor didn't even completely diagnose you, but he was very adamant about what to do next. At that point, did you have any idea that there was a diet component to that, or did you suspect that there is, or what were your thoughts about the diet piece?
That's a great question, Justin, because no, I had no idea. As a matter of fact,
wow,
I had never known anyone in my circle, in my family or friends, who had cancer. So this was completely new to me.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and it's like the more you put your attention on something, the more things appear. Because since my diagnosis and since, my journey, it's like every day I'm seeing it on my Facebook feed or hearing about a family friend who has come down with cancer, and it's absolutely amazing that this is such an epidemic in today's society.
Isn't it? It's completely weird. Kate and I were just talking about this the other day, that you almost have to shield yourself from it, because in our industry, and just like you said on your Facebook feed or anybody, it's like I'm just hearing it every day, and every day some new person has cancer. I had a friend of mine that died, maybe 4 years ago, from colon cancer, and she was, my age, my grade in school, and it's just bizarre. But, when you're out there kind of living life and not really thinking about this kind of stuff, or not really a part of this alternative health movement,
right,
you don't really see it, do you?
No, not at all. But I mean, it blows my mind to think that there are more people alive today than have ever died in the history of the earth, and yet there's 1,500 people a day that are dying from cancer. And
yeah, I think it's something like 26,000 per day get diagnosed, and then 1,500 people a day die from it. Right.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy. It is literally a plague. I mean, we live in a perfect storm of toxicity, and it's just it's a problem. And there are multiple factors, from diet and lifestyle to external factors. And, all we can do is, like you say, shield ourselves and try to mitigate that risk as the best we can.
It's bizarre too, is that, so many people don't realize, like, kind of, how you were at the time, that, cancer just sort of strikes, and there's no, most people, I don't think, understand, the power of enzymes and clean diet and cleansing and detoxification. Because I think most people just think that there's no real diet, really has nothing to do with it, and it's just one of those things that either happens or it doesn't, and if it happens, it's unfortunate, but there's no real rhyme or reason. And I think that's the general sentiment of most people.
I think so.
Yeah.
And that definitely seems to be the view of Western medicine, is that cancer is just, it happens to you, and it's linear, and there's no coming back from it.
It's just random.
And that's not what I believe at all.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, you had no idea about the diet component, and I think you were just gotten through the weekend and you're trying to figure out what to do next, and your doctor's recommending surgery?
He recommended surgery. And so I actually, of course, not knowing anyone who had cancer and knowing zero about nutrition, about any other aspect of holistic healing, never been exposed to anything at this point, I went ahead with the surgery and had what's called an orchiotomy, which is the removal of the cancerous testicle through a small incision in the lower intestines.
Oh, wow.
I went ahead and had the surgery, and of course, a few days later, the pathology report came back, and it was cancerous.
Mm-hmm. Did
so
they give
it was
you a stage?
The stage at that point. It was relatively low stage. It was stage 1B, and so while it wasn't a radical stage 4 case, my story is more than just cancer and just alternative therapies. It's about transformational healing of the mind, body, and spirit as a whole.
Yeah.
And the journey that I went through from A to B to heal the whole body. And of course, cancer was a huge aspect of that.
It's interesting that your stage was so low for having, you said you kind of pushed it off and then it started to get more painful, and the kind of whole thing was going on for about a year without you really doing much about it. So that's interesting that you had it for that long and the stage was that low.
It is interesting. I mean, it wasn't without its complications. There had been some spreading to the epididymis, so to the outer, layers, of the pelvic region,
mm-hmm.
and there was what was called vascular invasion, which is rogue cancer cells getting loose in my bloodstream and could appear in other places, and so looking back on it, I'm wondering, did that vascular invasion, was that a result of the surgery itself? There was a disruption to that area.
Oh, right.
And was that the cause of the vascular invasion? It could be. I don't know. Just like getting a biopsy, you can spread, the cancer cells that way. So I don't know if the surgery, was the result of that. I'm not sure.
Wow. Yeah. I guess there's no way to know unless you had that test before you had the surgery, but yeah, interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. So I met with my urologist again to go over the pathology results, and Justin, this is where things start to go askew for me. So he pulls out a laptop and starts typing, and he's looking at something on his computer screen.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, okay, let me get your report. Here's your report. You have this stage. Okay, you qualify for this, you fit in this category, and you have a 50% chance of living this long, and so on and so on. And I'm thinking, wait a minute.
Yeah.
you that's not me. You're talking to me. I'm a person. I'm not a statistic. And so that's kind of where I started to get a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Just hearing that kind of cold handling of the situation, and that didn't really sit well with me. But he recommended an oncologist. I met with the oncologist, and he recommended that I go through at least 2 rounds of chemotherapy, because although I had the surgery, the vascular invasion that occurred and the spreading to the epididymis, could put me in a high risk factor for recurrence of cancer at some point.
Okay.
And so to just mitigate the chances, he recommended chemotherapy. Well, part of his consultation, he was telling me, okay, well, here's what's going to happen. You could lose your hair. You could get really sick. You should stay away from your kids and wife. You are going to end up in the emergency room at least 2 or 3 times. If anybody in the house is sick, you need to, they need to completely stay away from you. You're not going to have an immune system to speak of. And And here I am thinking, wow, you're really selling this to me.
Yeah, golly, right? That's not a good sales job.
It's not a good sales tactic. And
no.
yeah, talk about a bedside manner. So
yeah.
He did talk about nutrition, and here's how it came up. He said, as part of the chemotherapy, you're not going to have an appetite, and so I suggest, eating really, flavorful food that you might want to go to McDonald's. And my jaw just about hit the floor at that point. Even though I didn't know a lot about nutrition, to hear him say McDonald's, I knew that it was unhealthy. Why would he recommend that I eat McDonald's?
Yeah, isn't that bizarre?
And every time I tell people that, they're just like, are you kidding me? McDonald's, really?
So he said McDonald's in relation to you want, to get a more wide variety of different tasting foods? Is that why he said that?
Well, I guess so that I would crave some food.
Oh, I see.
At all, as a result of the nausea from chemotherapy, that he recommended McDonald's because it's high taste, all the salt and, that aspect of it, I guess, is what he was thinking. I really don't know, but
golly, that is so bizarre.
It's not right, isn't it?
No. I mean, I cannot. It's so beyond. I just can't even wrap my mind around. Even if I understand the industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and I get everything they're trying to do and sell people on chemo, and I get all that, but it just seems so weird that a doctor with that level of education. I mean, I realize too. I mean, the education they get has nothing to do with nutrition, but I just can't imagine just a logical, sensible, normal thinking human being would ever even think that, especially someone with that much training. It's just, wow, it just blows my mind.
Exactly. So that was, again, another red flag.
Okay, so when you heard that, you knew that McDonald's isn't healthy. Was that sort of the first little crack of the door opening for you saying maybe there is something to do with health?
Absolutely. And I remember looking at my wife, who was sitting right next to me at the time, and we just both had this very perplexed look on our faces when he mentioned McDonald's. Yeah. And another thing that happened was he sent me to talk to the financial counselor. Okay. And so my wife and I are sitting there talking to the financial counselor and looking over our insurance, and the financial person is telling me, okay, well, here's when your insurance expires, or here's when the deductible resets, rather. I recommend you try to get as many rounds of chemo in before that happens, before you have to pay a higher, out-of-pocket cost. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. The doctor was recommending, the oncologist was recommending, 2 rounds, but you're saying that I need to get as many in as possible? So again, there's another disconnect there. Who's really running the show? Is it the office financial person, or is it the doctor? Because I'm kind of hearing two different messages.
Now, during this time when you had the doctor tell you about McDonald's and this financial person tell you about the chemo and rushing to get it all in, was this on the same day?
I don't believe it was on the same day, because I know I went back again to take a tour of the area where they administer the chemotherapy, and that was, I believe it was over the course of 2 weeks when all this happened.
That's so crazy. So they bring you in for a tour. It's almost like I don't even know what to say, but that's so nuts. It's like they're trying to sell you on that, but then it's so horrible to go see a tour of that.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking, and my heart goes out to every cancer patient, regardless of what treatment option they're pursuing. It's a tough thing to go through, and that tour was very hard to see, just to see the people, sitting there in their, they had little lazy boys set up with an IV dripping the chemotherapy, and I'm all about the vibes, and it wasn't a good vibe,
Right.
But
yeah, so that was the sort of second piece that sort of made you think, wait a minute, something's just not right with all this.
Something's not right. This isn't for me. So about a week passed from there, and of course I'm getting pressure from my family to do the chemotherapy. And my wife is, talking to her. She's very supportive and she's great. She supported me. She would have supported me regardless of what my decision was. But she was like, do you really want to do it? Chemotherapy is kind of scary. Of course, again, we knew no one who had cancer at the time. So This is all uncharted waters for me. And I thought about it for a while, and I caved into the pressure from my family. I come from a family of 9. Again, we're all very close. We're a traditional Hispanic family here in South Texas, and it's the type of family where, hey, everybody's great. I love my brothers and sisters, but everybody's in each other's business.
Oh, okay.
And so this was the talk of the family, for a long time. Of course, and rightly so. They're worried, and I get that.
Yeah.
I caved to the pressure of my family. Hey, Tom, you got a wife and kids. You got to do the right thing. Don't be irresponsible.
And so they would actually pull you aside and tell you that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got calls from every single member of my family at some point, just encouraging me to do the chemotherapy. And I went ahead and made the appointment. Mm-hmm. But the day of, not the day, a few days before, I just knew something was right. You have this inner voice inside of you, and you have to listen to it. And my inner voice was telling me that this was not the way to go.
So it was progressively getting to be a stronger and stronger feeling as the day approached for you to actually be administered chemo.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so as that date approached, the day came and went. I missed my appointment. And I was getting calls, getting hounded by the office saying, hey, what are you doing? You need to, you missed your appointment. Are you going to reschedule? You need to come in. Don't let this get any worse. You need to take care of it.
Wow.
So you know what I did? My wife and I actually went up to Colorado the week of my chemotherapy appointment, and that was really the major catalyst for me. We went hiking up in Boulder, and I don't know if I told you, Justin, but I was really overweight at the time.
Okay.
I'm about 5'6" and a half. If I stand on my tippy toes.
Okay.
But I was out of shape, and to go climb that mountain for me was a very cathartic experience, because it was on the top of that hill that I realized what I needed to do. And it was at that point where I reached the top when, the tears just started flowing, and everything was so clear to me. I said, it's like something snapped, and the discernment that I received, it just told me that you need to take control of your own health. Chemotherapy is not the answer. There is an alternative. You just need to find it.
So leading up to this, you were in Colorado, you went there from Texas to go hiking. So it wasn't as if you missed the appointment like they thought and you just forgot to go. You actually just decided I'm going to go hiking and try to clear my head and try to understand what's going on.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. We missed the appointment
on
and
purpose.
I just had no intention of going after I had just made up my mind not to. And that Colorado trip was the catalyst for change, because I had already started researching alternative cures up to that point.
So how long of a time between when you had that final appointment with the doctor to where you were actually going to get chemo? How long of a time was that?
We're talking like less than a month.
Okay, so you had already started researching alternative cures or alternative treatments, and you found some promising ideas.
I did. So what I tell when people ask me, like, how did you go about treating your cancer? I say I used the kitchen sink approach. I did everything but threw in everything but the kitchen sink. And it starts with a transformation inside, but it's also an external transformation, and I wanted to do every single thing possible to mitigate my risk of getting cancer again. And so I went to Colorado with the intention of hiking, of course, but I also went in search of what's called the cannabis oil. And I was able to obtain some of that while I was there, and I started a treatment of the cannabis oil. So that was one aspect of it. I also completely transformed my diet and lifestyle because, while cannabis oil could potentially get you out of danger immediately, unless you keep taking it, you still have that risk later on down the line.
Right. Because it wasn't the actual cannabis oil that your body was missing that caused you to get the cancer in the first place. It was a poor diet and poor lifestyle and mindset and thinking and all the rest of it.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay. So with the cannabis oil, did you get the sort of Rick Simpson oil?
I did.
Okay. And then how did you drive with that? Did you take it all there, or how did you drive with it? And were you worried about driving with it?
I was absolutely worried, and I don't even know if I should be talking about this, but part of my transformation was taking a vow of authenticity, and I believe that you have to be true and you have to speak the truth. And so, so we went up and purchased the cannabis oil in Colorado, and we flew up there and we drove back. This was in 2013, so it was not recreational yet. But in my mind, I'm thinking I would rather be illegally alive than legally dead. So
makes sense to me.
So I did it. And I took the oil. That became part of my morning regimen when I came back. But even more so than the oil was the juicing aspect of it and the transformation of my diet and lifestyle and how it affected my entire family's diet and lifestyle. I think is worth noting because, my family ate like I ate. And so when I put two and two together, I'm thinking, well, if I, had cancer from a poor diet and lifestyle, I certainly don't want my family to get cancer. So we need to all change. And that's where I really give a lot of credit to my wife, because she stood by my side and continues to and supported me with this change. And without her, I talk to so many people, almost on a daily basis who reach out to me, and some people are, asking me to speak to their brother or sister, wife, husband, and it doesn't work like that. It's got to come from you. And if you don't have that support system to make the change, it's really hard to do by yourself.
Now, with the cannabis oil, are you at liberty to share where you got it?
I cannot.
Okay.
At the time, it was through a private
person or friend or something.
Person.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you had gotten enough to be able to come back to Texas, and to take, for how long were you able to take it?
I took it over the course of about a month and a half.
Okay.
So it was 3 ounces.
Okay.
And I had some tinctures along with it for just to take that for a few weeks after. But that really wasn't the main focus. I wanted to get it because I had done a lot of research on it, and I know that it can work to heal cancer and get you out of the danger zone. But I knew that it wasn't a long-term solution. And so the only long-term solution for me was to keep eating like you're treating it. And that really never ends. So it's a long-term solution. You have to continue the diet and lifestyle is what I figured out. So, after that, I came back with the oil. I started doing my routine. I developed a routine of juicing in the morning. And I did a modified version of the Gerson's therapy where I was drinking, just 8 ounces every hour and just eating fruits and vegetables, salads and things like that, all day long.
Wow. Now, how did you do that with work?
Well, I was fortunate at the time that I had a job that I actually worked from home.
Oh, that's great.
And my wife owns a child care center here in town, so we had a lot of flexibility, to be at home and to do what we needed to do. And, I did take a couple of weeks off from work, anyway, but I was very fortunate to have that position. Yeah,
because there's so many people that do the Gerson, and people, we've talked to that go to the Gerson therapy down in Mexico, but they have such a difficult time sort of implementing that in their daily lives just because it's so intense. It's like 16 8-ounce juices every hour on the hour until you go to bed, and 2 or 3 coffee enemas a day. It's pretty intense, isn't it?
It's pretty intense. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
But so I was just overdosing on juice, all day long. And so my actual morning ritual was I would get up, I would start, with a meditation. And I like to meditate for an hour for every minute of the day. So I try to do 24 minutes.
Oh, or a minute for every hour.
A minute for every hour. Did I say that?
That's a long time. I don't know how you get anything done.
A minute for every hour.
Okay, a minute for every hour. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I try to. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but I try to.
And do you do it all at once or different times throughout the day?
I try to do it all at once. Okay. And meditation for me was completely foreign. Like I said, my spiritual practices were not really in line with that, or I didn't really have any to speak of. But as a result of juicing, and not so much what you're putting into your diet, but what you're taking out of your diet. So all of the processed food went away, all of the junk food, all of the fast food, all of the, the sugar, GMO, that all went out the window. In came real food, in came, juice, massive amounts of juice, alkaline water, kombucha, all of that came in. All of this goodness came into my diet. And I'm the type of person that goes all in. I don't do anything kind of half measured. Mm-hmm. So I went all in on this diet and lifestyle.
So when you went all in, I got a couple questions for you. When you went all in, were you in belief that it would work? And then as far as the juices go, were they different or were they the same?
When I went all in, I did believe that it would work.
Nice.
Because in doing my research and just seeing the sheer amount of people who have been successful at this, I was very, very confident that it would work. But and as far as the juicing, I pretty much stuck to the standard green juice of my typical recipe was kale, spinach, lettuce, romaine lettuce, celery, cucumber, lemon, a knuckle of ginger, small piece of turmeric, and like one apple for taste.
Wow. Yeah, the lemon really, really makes drinking green juice like palatable, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
Without the lemon, I've had them without the lemon, and man, is it bitter.
It sure is. Good. And here's what I tell people about juicing. I say, look, think of it as medicine. You'll swallow a bitter pill or drink some, awful tasting cough syrup, but you won't drink green juice? It doesn't make sense.
I know,
think
right?
Think of it as medicine.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too. I mean, I drink so many things throughout the day that are just so disgusting, and but over time your palate changes, but that's the way I look at it too. It's just medicine, I mean, it's just like you're not drinking a lot of this stuff. I mean, I'll drink a kombucha or I'll go get a juice like that, but that's for taste. But really, the green juice and a lot of these other fermented drinks, and one of them I can think of in particular that tastes just horrible is what is that? Rejuvelac. To me, it just tastes like liquid cheese, but it's medicine, really.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people out there who kind of question alkaline water or kombucha or, just other methods other than green juice. And I'm of the school of thought of, hey, it works. And even if it didn't work, is it really going to hurt? But I truly believe that these things work, that probiotics are essential. Of course, you want to get them from natural sources. I stay away from dairy, so I don't really do the kefir or yogurt. But I drink a lot of kombucha. I'm all about the booch.
Yeah, I've seen it on your Instagram. It's all over the place. And there's so many awesome, amazing companies that are producing now they're starting to produce low sugar options, which is great.
That's right. Yeah. So, and one of the flavors that I always get, because I always look at the sugar content, and some of them can be really, really high. And so that's something that you should look out for. But the GT's kombucha, I find that is typically in the 2 to 3% range as far as sugar content.
Yeah, it's really low. I think I've seen like 2 grams of sugar,
right?
And so those are the ones I go for. Kavita has some interesting ones, but yeah, it's all about just a low sugar.
That's right. I love Kavita's drinks. I'm all like you say. I'm posting all kinds of kombucha, different kind of kombuchas, and it's mainly because I just want people to see, hey, you don't have to stick with one thing. You can try different things and branch out and find out what works for you. But going back to my transformation, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the other areas, because I think to talk about the diet and lifestyle, that's one component, but to get the complete picture of what transformational healing really is, you have to talk about the mind and spirit component. And I think that often gets left out of the conversation.
Yes.
And for me, how this came up for me, it was in that detoxification process. About a month or 2 into my new regimen, I just started thinking so clearly, and it's almost like the fog lifted, and I just had this clarity of thought, and I just felt amazing. There were times where I would get up, I would meditate, I would drink my juice, drink my kombucha, drink, a liter of alkaline water, and I would go out for a run, in the daylight, in the sun, and I felt so good. I literally felt like I could just take off, like lift off and fly.
Really?
I mean, I just can't imagine the high. You can't understand like how incredibly good and what kind of a high that was for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. It happened after 2 months of your cleansing and detox program. It's funny because I talk about this on the show, and it's I can only really describe my own experience, but for me, having gone through my mom's cancer and my own detox journey and changing my diet journey, I can't describe enough. I mean, a lot of people I hear talking about, the food, and it'll help you lose a little bit of weight, or you'll be able to fit in your skinny pants again. But for me, it's a mental and spiritual and emotional shift that happens when you start consuming these types of raw fruits and vegetables, and you start getting on this electrically charged food that you're not going to get from McDonald's. And it allows it. For me, the process was a complete transformation of how I viewed the world, what I thought was possible, what my potential is, what I'm here on the earth to do, what's true and what's not true out there in the world, and being able to decipher the differences. It became this spiritual journey more than physical after a while for me. And it sounds like the same with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there was a point a few months later after that where I just had a complete and total awakening, even more so than that first round, where it's almost like if you've ever seen that movie with Bradley Cooper, Limitless, where he takes this, pill where he just has this increased brain functioning and capacity, and it's almost like that, where that switch was flipped, and all of a sudden, I just wanted to start consuming knowledge. And I started listening to anyone in lectures, philosophers, metaphysic teachers, Eastern philosophies. I just wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. And that's what my diet and lifestyle change did for me. And that's why I say, like, you have to really transform your entire mind, body, and spirit, because they all work together in synergy, in conjunction with each other, to really make you a healthy person. Because, with my conditions that I had bad diet, bad lifestyle that turned into illness. So I was a toxic person, and then it transformed into toxic thoughts. And those toxic thoughts, when you become sick and you start really talking down to yourself, and your cells are listening to you, and you are further bringing down your immune system with all of the negative talk. And one of the main things that I tell people, whoever asks me and who I talk to, is I tell them that everybody, you kind of need to shift your perspective on cancer, because what worked for me is I never use the word fight. I'm never fighting cancer. I'm never battling cancer. It's never a fight, never a battle, because when you do that, to me, that brings a negative connotation, a negative energy. And it's just like when you're working out, you don't want to, when you're working out, you're doing resistance training, you're building that muscle. You don't want to build that negative muscle. And so part of my mindfulness practice is to never finish a negative thought. And so for me, the way that I wanted to heal myself was to not use that kind of language, because words have power. And so instead of saying fighting cancer, I did the opposite. I embraced it. I let it change me. I let it become a part of my story. Cancer was a messenger, and I finally listened. After all of these years of, physical conditions leading up to cancer, I finally listened, and I let it transform me, and I transformed with it. I didn't resist it. I became one in the same, and let it become a part of my story, and allowed myself to evolve. And that's really how I overcame it.
It's interesting because, that whole idea of fighting cancer is so imbued within our culture, ever since Nixon in 1971 was declaring the war on cancer, and this whole idea of chemotherapy and radiation and killing and all of this stuff. And, and so I find, I heard something interesting recently where someone was talking about weight loss, and I forget who it was, but it might have been somebody on our show, but they're talking about, the idea of weight loss and losing weight is so bizarre, because what are we naturally trained to do as soon as we lose something is to go find it again.
Exactly.
And so it kind of goes along with the same, even though we're not losing cancer, in a sense we're losing cancer, getting rid of it, but it's that same idea where when you're always fighting against something and you're at war, always internally, that
right.
can only manifest in your own heart and physically and spiritually and emotionally as well.
Exactly. So there has to be just a shift in the way that you're thinking about cancer, in the way that you're talking about cancer. At least for me, if it works, if using that language works for other people, then more power to them. But for me, I did not want to use that kind of language.
There was speaking of that, there was a Facebook, I think it's a Facebook group, and they have these T-shirts that says, fuck cancer, and it's like it's all over their T-shirts, and people that have cancer sort of wear them, or people that have been affected by cancer wear them. And I saw that, and I just felt like, but then again, it's like, I've given up trying to sort of convince other people to think like I do. And that's beautiful that they think that, and that's great. And whatever outcome that has for them, good or bad, is part of their journey. And that's good. That's good for them. But for me, I have to move away from thoughts like that, where, you're talking about completely the opposite, loving cancer.
Exactly. Loving your way through cancer is really, for me, was the only option to embrace positivity and love and take that road of love over the road of fear. Because to me, when you talk about, fighting cancer, fuck cancer, all this stuff, that when I hear that, that's just toxic to me. It's acidic.
Yeah, it's hard to even say because it's so it's saying that to a part of your journey. It's part of what we're here to learn, and obviously everything that we have in our life is there to teach us something and for us to grow from, and so
exactly.
why would you use that kind of language about something that's there to teach you?
Exactly. I think it was the poet Rumi who said, "These pains you feel are messengers. Listen to them." So that it's a lesson. Cancer was a lesson. Everything in life is a lesson. But you just have to show up to the lesson and be open to them.
So now on this more spiritual side of your journey, because there's no doubt, obviously, that so many of the people that we talk to, in my own case, in your case, it's just, it all stems back to, in my mind, spirituality. This health thing is not just about losing weight. It's not just about having more energy. It's about what we're doing here on the earth. It's about it ultimately goes back to spirituality. Now, when you were on that journey and you're changing and you're learning new stuff and you're seeking out new information and feeling motivated, inspired, and realizing how the world really works, now, we're talking, I'm not sure if this was on there or off there when we first started, but how you felt alienated and didn't feel like your friends and family connected with you anymore. Did the transformation have that same effect?
Absolutely. I'm considered the green sheep of the family now.
I like that.
Instead of the black sheep. And so, yeah, I love my family, but people are not going to change at this point. They have to be open to it, and a lot of them are. A lot of them have embraced what I've done. But even more so than that, I wanted to lead by example, and talk about a life's journey and a life's purpose. This, come to find out, this is my purpose. I truly believe that we are here for a reason, and everybody has to find out what that reason is. I believe it was Mark Twain who said the two most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. Well, the day that I found out why was when an article that was written about my story kind of went viral, and I started getting messages, emails from people from all over the world asking, what you did, what I did. And I started talking to people. I started helping them. And let me tell you, there is no greater high than helping people and just talking to people, not necessarily giving them, medical advice. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but just telling them that healing is possible, that not to lose hope, that just giving them some inspiration. And, if they want to, explore some of the things that I did, well, you can find natural cures all day long. There's no shortage of people who have cured themselves from any number of diseases, but there's not a lot of inspirational people or figures out there in the world of alternative medicine. You can get inspired by, hearing someone's story of healing, but to take the time to actually talk to a person and just let them know that it's possible, that does a long way to give somebody hope and to inspire people. And that's what I really, really enjoy doing. And, and I believe that because I didn't know anybody in my circle, I was the first person that I knew of to ever get cancer. Well, a few months later, my mother-in-law got breast cancer, and I helped her, heal her breast cancer naturally, and she's cancer-free as well.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. It's so incredible how these things affect other circumstances and situations. It's not just about us.
It's definitely not just about us. This change has also affected my wife's business. She owns a child care center, daycare center here in town. And when we first opened 5 years ago, we were feeding, the daycare kids, fruit salad and heavy syrup and chicken McNuggets and just crap, you know. And so when I went through my change, I said, we cannot in good conscience feed these kids this crap. We have to change. And so what we did was we completely transformed our business model for that daycare center, and we went,
wow,
all real food. We put in 6 raised beds, so we started gardening, and now we've carved out a little niche for ourselves in that, we've included the gardening in the curriculum for the school, so the kids come out and help plant the crops. They water, they help harvest the food, and then we use that food to cook scratch-made meals, and that's what they eat all day.
That's so amazing, because, it's like you have no idea what your influence might be on one of those kids. Just one of those kids could grow up and do something incredible in this field and be the next, giant, health titan or whatever, and inspire people. And it could all go back to that trigger that was, being in your daycare center. I mean, it's crazy.
Absolutely. So, we want to expand this model of, a truly green daycare center and just kind of open up other centers and other places and just kind of spread the news. And we want to help as many people as possible because, like you say, we all have a sphere of influence, and that sphere, has, fortunately in this day and age with the internet, we're able to expand that sphere exponentially across the world. But to have it start here at the local level and make changes here in San Antonio, Texas, where I live, which is consistently ranked high in among the fattest cities in the country, I've got a lot of work to do here, and then just in town, and then to kind of spread that, as far as it'll go. That's really what I want to do, and just help people in any way possible. Just mind, body, and spirit, just by sharing my story of transformation, and just to take it from there.
So where was your wife on all this, being open to all of this new information you're learning, this inspiring? Because I remember, Kate and I have talked about this during the shows, and just the transformation that happened with me, and then, it's interesting. So was your wife on board with all of this stuff?
She was on board at 100%. I mean, I couldn't have done it without her. It's so hard to make any sort of diet and lifestyle change by yourself. If you've got somebody, fighting you, it's not going to work. But I'm so lucky and so grateful to have her. Not only is she a great cook, but she kind of took it upon herself to really, really delve into the gardening aspect.
Wow.
And especially because it's there on site at the daycare center, she, has, we're lucky in that we have both evolved in the same direction. And that's really a great thing, because a lot of the times people don't. People change in different directions and grow apart, but, through sickness and health, just like the vows say, she has continued to be with me, and we've grown and evolved together on this path of transformational healing. So I'm really, really grateful for her.
It's really critical, isn't it? I mean, with me and Kate, it's we're on the same journey, and I feel like it's nothing that I did. We just happen to be really lucky and be on the same path and same ideas about everything, and on the same journey of healing and, expanding your mind and all of that stuff. But, it really does help. And I was going to ask you too, it's fascinating, because when you're going through all this, it's, for you, what an amazing thing to have your wife on board, right? So you have her support, but then too, you're learning all this information, but then because of the information, it's that itself is causing you to be disconnected from friends and family, because they're not on board and they're sort of in that same sort of mindset. So although on one side it's really empowering, because you're learning this really motivating and inspiring information and learning how things work and all of that, but then on the flip side of that coin, you have sort of this growing alienation from your friends and family. So we all seek connection with other people, and it's important for us to not be alone. And so how did you manage those two sort of worlds that were sort of disconnecting from each other.
Right. I did lose friends over it. When I stopped wanting to go out and, party and drink and, and do all that in excess, you kind of lose friendships over that. And I remember distinctly I tried to reconnect with a friend of mine and went over to their house for a barbecue. And of course, we brought all of our own food, and that brought up a conversation. Why do you eat this way? Well, it all started with my cancer. And I've come to learn that there are certain triggers that you cannot talk about in public if you want to stay at a social gathering.
Really?
One of them is alternative cancer treatments. Another one is vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hot topic. And we talked about all of those at this barbecue.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'll tell you what, my wife and I, my kids, we had to leave.
Did you really?
We had to leave. And at that point, I got a little bit depressed very briefly when I thought about, wow, I am really in the minority. My wife and I, we're really in the minority in the way that we think and the way that we live. And there's not a lot of people who think like this and live like this. And most people try to fit in, but we're fitting out. We're not fitting in. And it's just something that I've come to terms with and I accept. And, I would rather be true to myself and live authentically than to just, partake in whatever they're partaking and we have a term for it. We have a term for our lifestyle. We call it, we're just anti-GMO, and we use GMO as a generic term for anything that is meant for mass consumption. Wow. So we don't do GMO food. We don't do GMO politics. We don't do GMO religion. We don't like labels. And that's a big part of my transformation, is just being able to let go of limiting beliefs and limiting ideas, limiting paradigms, and just be able to chart your own path. So we used, we use GMO as a generic term for anything that is meant for mass consumption. We're salmon. We just like to swim upstream.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that. That's an interesting way of putting it. I'm going to have to tell a kid about that. It's really cool. Yeah, because it's one of those things where, on one level, all humans desire connection. We desire to have this fulfillment through relationship and emotion and connecting with other humans on the planet. And then on the flip side, when you realize that the majority of the people that you interact with create, I guess, I wouldn't say stress, but create an issue where it's not comfortable for you anymore because you're growing. And so it's this weird dichotomy if you have these two worlds that are happening simultaneously. And what we've found is, we found that when you have people that do agree with you on a lot of things, and they're really on the same path and spiritual journey, and on the same element of growth and trying to become better and stronger, investing in the few people in your life that are like that. And sometimes for a lot of people, that might just be through podcasts like this, or through YouTube videos, or feeling like you have a tribe that is not necessarily near you, but at least they're people that think like you. And it kind of makes you, for me at least, when I hear people saying the exact thing that I would have said, in a certain situation online, it makes me just feel like a sigh of relief. I just feel, okay, there's other people. Everyone's not like my immediate group of friends and family,
That's exactly right. And, an interesting thing in talking about this is I relate so much to the group of friends that I have on Instagram. It's taken me over 3 years to get where I'm at. And, obviously it's not a tremendous amount, but I'm grateful for each and every one of my friends on there. But an interesting thing that I find is that I can post, let's say do a post about juice or, what have you. And I can post that on Facebook and get, like 2 or 3 likes, but I post that on Instagram and I get hundreds of likes.
Wow.
And to me, that's very telling in I don't know what that says about, our culture, or if there's a distinct difference between the demographics of Facebook and Instagram, or if Instagram is just more of a targeted search, as Facebook is just, kind of friends, family, coworkers, and whatnot. And so there's more of a diverse group of people on Facebook. But I find that very interesting, that large disparity in the number of likes that a single post can get on both platforms.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And for us, it's funny because more and more in our lives with Kate and I, we're just feeling like we're meeting people in our local area that are on the same path and that are waking up, and they're people that are thinking about things on a deep level. And I don't know, I just find it very refreshing. And it's nice because for the longest time we went through years of feeling like all our friends were just online people through the show, which is amazing and great, but you can't have that interaction in person. And so it's
right.
So refreshing, isn't it, to have people in your life physically that are fun to be around and sort of more awake?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, my wife is my best friend, and I've got a few people who think the way we do, that I see and that we connect with, and it is great to have people in person, but at the same time, you also have your tribe online, of people that are supporters and that think like that you do. So that's great as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about all of the things that were going on with the doctor. So I'm assuming that when you decided to go natural and not get the chemotherapy, I'm assuming the doctor was not too happy about that.
Well, Justin, today's healthcare model is one that, you do your blood work, the doctor comes in and spends about 10 minutes or less with you, and then they're off. So I'm assuming I was a number of, one of hundreds of patients that he saw in that day. But so when I told him about, my choice not to do chemotherapy, and I did go in a few times to get blood work done just to see where I was at, with cancer and with my risk, to see what my levels were. And in the first time I went in and told him all about what I decided to do with my natural therapies, he was very dismissive about it. Mm-hmm. And it was just a very quick, so, okay, juicing, huh? All right. So just getting a little bit healthier. Great. Thanks. See ya.
Wow.
So he really amazing. Couldn't care less. And I understand that. It's his business is chemotherapy and radiation, and he did his visit with me, and that's all that I guess I could have expected at that point. Mm-hmm. But an interesting story that happened, I went in several times, over the course of, I guess, about 6 months, or maybe a little longer than that. I got some routine blood work done just to see where I was at. But the last time that I went in, I was sitting there waiting to go in and get my blood work done, and the entire office, doctors, nurses, staff, they were all eating breakfast tacos, kolaches, donuts, soda, and I'm sitting here telling Lily, my wife, like, I got to get out of here. These people don't know. What am I doing here?
Wow.
If these people don't know enough to not eat this stuff, how in the world are they going to heal people? They're not. When they're eating cancer-causing foods. So what am I doing here?
I just can't get over that. That's just so amazing, right? I mean, golly.
So that was the last time I went back, and I figured I'm better off in my own hands. And that's one of the things, one of my mantras that I say over and over online is, you are the best healthcare provider. Nobody can provide health to you. It's got to come from you. And I'm not talking trauma. Obviously, if you get a broken arm, you're going to want to go in. I think, I'm not totally against modern medicine. I don't think anybody is. But as far as just things that are in your control, I'm talking prevention over treatment. Don't let yourself get to that point. It all starts with what you eat, garbage in, garbage out, right? So prevention over treatment. Just be your own healthcare provider.
You know what's it's such an interesting idea that I've been exposed to and learned from over the years of doing this. I've been doing it since I got really involved in it in about 2003 originally, but it's it's the idea that, you know, when we get on this kick, you know, we become so militant and so evangelistic in our approach, and we want everyone to do this, you know, do the things that we want to do, and then something happens in our immediate family, and let's say someone gets cancer and they go through chemotherapy and it's a loved one, and maybe it's a mom or dad, or maybe it's a brother or sister or something, and you know, that's where the spiritual side comes in the journey spiritually, because, you know, who are we to say that they shouldn't do? I mean, my mom, if anyone should be a proponent of chemotherapy, it should be me, because my mom had chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, and a stem cell transplant, bone marrow transplant, and I donated platelets to her. And that happened in 1995, and she was given, I think, a 10% or less chance of survival, and she's still here. I mean, the chemotherapy is the reason why I got into what I'm doing, but I watched what happened to her and thought there had to be a better way, and so for me, it was sort of by proxy. But you know, who are we to say what anyone else should or shouldn't do, whether they should eat food or a poor diet? I mean, that's all their journey, and I'm sure you've gone through that as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, again, in talking to so many different people, some people want to do a mixture of conventional and alternative, or, you know, I've even helped people, you know, once they're done with chemotherapy, start juicing, you know, just to, you know, detox all of that out of their system. So, you know, individuality is a thing. We're all snowflakes, so what works for me may not work for you, or vice versa. And you know, you have to do what you feel is right and what the best course of action is for you. Now, having said that, I know that there was an article research that just came out that said, you know, chemotherapy only works on, I believe, 2 to 4% of cancers. And I had one of the types of cancers that chemotherapy worked for, but yet I still didn't do it. And you know, a lot of people tell me, they're like, well, you know, you had, you know, your cancer wasn't that good. Like if you were gonna get the cancer, that's the one you want to get. That, you know, it wasn't that bad. And let me just dispel the myth that there's a good type of cancer to get.
I know, right?
And so even though chemotherapy would have worked, statistically would have worked for me, I still didn't do it because that wasn't the answer for me. It could have, you know, gotten me out of danger immediately, maybe, but it wasn't my long-term solution because that wasn't the only aspect of myself that needed to heal.
It's interesting that you recognize that now, and it's interesting that you recognize that you know, it's so much more deep, because you know, we can make shortcuts with things, and people can get a tummy tuck and, you know, have a great looking stomach, or they can do these types of things, but it's really just a shortcut, and the underlying thing is the real thing, right? And it's interesting that you seem to be very in touch with the deeper aspect as to, you know, if you had chemo and then you know, never had cancer again, you know, it would have robbed you of whatever the journey and the learning process was, and you recognize that.
That's exactly right. And I would do it all over again. You know, I would go through this again because it was such a beautiful experience. Wow. I mean, yeah, it was painful. It wasn't easy, but, you know, coming out the other side of it, I'm such a different person than I was 3 years ago, and I continue to grow and I continue to evolve every day in all aspects. I mean, I have like this insatiable thirst for knowledge. I just want to learn and grow in every aspect, and that wouldn't have happened if I had done chemotherapy. If I had done chemotherapy, I wouldn't have changed my diet, and I'd probably, who knows what would have happened. You know, I was a ticking time bomb as it was, and you know, that's why I say thank God for cancer, because it literally saved my life. Maybe I would have had a heart attack later. You know, maybe my dad had a triple bypass in 2010. And, you know, so just culturally and just as far as my environment, you know, that's what I was around, you know, that's what I was used to. I was used to doctor's visits and, you know, so watching my parents, be on 10 medications at once, and that's what I didn't want for myself, and that's what I don't want for my family. And that's really why I did it. I wanted to lead by example, and I wanted to, if anyone in my close circle of friends or family ever had cancer, I wanted to be able to help them. And, it's a journey that never stops. I'm still on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's fascinating because really it's about the process, really. I mean, we hear that all the time from coaches in sports and talk about it's about the journey and all of that. But it really is who you become in the process, because what's causing you to say yes to green juices and cleansing and detox and changing your diet and learning how the world works and learning how all this stuff works and being on this journey, the invisible process that's causing you to say yes to that and no to conventional treatments, that is the spiritual journey that the physical cancer is manifesting in your life. And sometimes people need that, sometimes people don't. Sometimes people are just on these journeys themselves without any sort of crisis in their life physically. But it's ultimately all about the growth and who you become in the process, right? I mean, it's not about the green juice. It's about what makes you drink the green juice.
It's all about, your catalyst or your point of change. For some people, it's, a life event. It's a divorce. It's a loss of a job. It's a death of a family member. It's illness. Any one of these things can be the catalyst for personal change or transformational healing. And I'm not even saying sometimes it's intangible healing. It may not even be a physical disease. Maybe it's just, a poor mental outlook or depression, or there are natural cures for everything. But the cure is not external. The cure is internal. And that's what I really try to tell people is that, you are the cure. It's got to come from you, and it's got to come from your ability to say, yes, I want to change, and yes, I want to heal. And you have to recognize that healing is possible. And I'm very big on visualization, and that's one of the things that I practiced as well, is just seeing myself, back in 2013, seeing myself a year from now, resuming life normally and, just being, running, playing with my kids, being vibrant and happy and healthy. Mm-hmm. And I kept visualizing that over and over, because one thing that I've learned is that the mind has to make whatever you think about, the mind has to create. So the mind will manifest health. It can manifest whatever you want as long as you focus your attention and, stay the course.
So what kinds of things did you do to mitigate fear? Because fear is a huge issue. And as we all know, the doctors use fear to sell. Obviously, I should say medical doctors and doctors that aren't necessarily awake and aware.
Sure.
They use fear as a selling point, and fear sells. I mean, there's nothing, just the way it is. So what did you do to not just think about how you want it to be, but to deal with the fear of everything you were hearing from friends and families and doctors and things?
Well, one thing that I did was to cut off every channel of fear that was around me. One of the habits that I had, which was very unhealthy looking back on it, was I used to watch the news every day. And the news is nothing but condensed fear. It's just telling you, here's everything that's going wrong in the world. I stopped watching TV. I turned off the news. Part of my practice of mindfulness really helped me and overcome fear in just never in consciously focusing on never finishing a negative thought and always trying to stay positive. I started a gratitude practice. So I had a practice of waking up in the morning before my feet hit the floor. I think of something that I'm truly grateful for, and I begin the day in gratitude. And you can become complacent with that. You can be like, okay, yeah, I'm happy, I'm thankful I'm alive. But no, if you're doing it right, you need to truly think of something you're grateful for, and you'll know you're doing it right because you'll get this warm, fuzzy feeling. You'll get goosebumps, and that's when you know you're truly practicing gratitude. At least for me, it's got to come deep, and you've got to do it every day. So I did that in the morning. I did my meditation, and the meditation really helped me in so many different ways, physically, spiritually, mentally. I mean, that is a non-negotiable for me. I have got to meditate every day, and I've actually I'm proud that my wife has come a long way. She's actually started to do meditation. It was a slow burn for her, but she finally started doing it. And what she does is she takes some essential oils and puts them in the palm of her hand, and she kind of sits there and breathes it in and just sits there and just kind of inhales and exhales. And there's really no wrong way to meditate. It's kind of personal for everyone. And that's why one of the things, it's so sacred for me that I've never taken a picture of myself doing it, because I think that's wrong for me. That's something personal, and I would never kind of put that out there for everybody to see. But yeah, I finally got my wife to do it. I'm doing it. So between the gratitude practice, cutting off channels of fear, and that, sometimes means cutting out toxic people too. If people are negative, you can't be around that negativity when you're treating cancer. And some meditation and mindfulness. So it was really positivity, just trying to stay positive and really getting outside and exercising outside in nature. I started running, which I started doing that in 3 years ago. And again, keep in mind that I was, really overweight when I started this journey. And last year I completed my first half marathon. So that was huge for me, just to be able to do that, because I couldn't even walk a mile, let alone run a mile, without getting winded.
Wow, a half marathon. That's impressive.
And thank you. I'm doing it again this year, and I've really gotten into running, and I'm just so happy to be able to do it. Yeah, I mean, running is amazing because I used to run before. I have a torn ACL right now that I haven't had surgery on. I just don't want to get surgery for it, so it sort of prevents me from running. But it's an amazing practice because I found it to be more spiritual than anything. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Because I found that when you're really in the zone, because what you're doing when you're running is you're actually focusing on your breathing, which is kind of a focal point of meditation. And you can actually meditate while running. You can get in the zone and connect. And running does that for me. So there's different types of meditations that you can do. I also do a shower meditation, in the morning, just kind of close my eyes and practice mindfulness. You can practice mindfulness anywhere. And for me, it's connecting. There's that saying online that says, prayer is when you're talking to God, but when you meditate, God is talking to you. And I've really found that to be true, in that for me, it's kind of like tuning a radio dial to a certain frequency. And when you find that frequency, you get the transmission. And for me, I find that I get, just these downloads of information, and I can go into meditation with a question and come out of it with an answer. And so it's a non-negotiable for me. I've got to do it.
Have you tried float tanks? Have you done any of that kind of stuff?
No, I have not. Again, I've barely scratched the surface here. I get a lot of great ideas from your show, by the way.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Yeah, float tanks are amazing. Gosh, I mean, we're going to go do it again this week. We had a guy named Ron Becker on the show who owns a float tank studio up in, I think it's Costa Mesa, California, somewhere around there. And floating is just it's meditations on steroids, if there's
really
such a thing. It's amazing.
Well, I'm definitely open to everything now. So once your mind is open, you can't close it. Once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep.
Yeah, I thought of this quote. It reminded me what you just said right there is, I think there's a famous quote that says, the only disease is a closed mind.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's so true, because there are things out there that we've never heard of,
And it's so true, because you have to be open-minded in order to really embrace this course of treatment and this journey. Some people aren't ready for it. And, and that's fine. We're all on our own journey. And that's even happened with my family members too. I'm still currently trying to work on some of them. There's been a couple that have started doing some healthier things. One thing I'm very proud of is that I actually have my parents drinking kombucha right now, and they're in their 80s.
Wow.
And so that just goes to show you that it's never too late to start a healthy habit. So they drink kombucha every day, and they're also drinking apple cider vinegar, and we've gotten them into essential oils. And so they've really, out of everyone, my parents have kind of, jumped in the most, and that kind of dispels the myth. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, because they're both in their 80s and they're both willing to try new things.
Wow. That's really, really cool. That shows that, their mind is open.
Absolutely. And, my mother, she was the one who was on like 10 medications, and she actually went into the emergency room a couple of months ago because this story is, oh my God. As a result of Obamacare, here we go.
Yeah, right.
As a result of Obamacare, my parents' long-term doctor decided he wanted to charge an upfront premium of thousands of dollars in order to keep seeing his patients. And of course, my parents are retired. They're on a fixed income. So they switched to a new doctor. Well, this new doctor prescribed brand new medications for my mom. She's got, high blood pressure. She has atrial fibrillation. She has a number of issues. And so the blood pressure medication that he prescribed, not only did it not work, she had her blood pressure skyrocketed to dangerous levels, and her heart rate dropped to dangerous levels.
Oh my goodness!
So she ended up in the hospital. She ended up getting a pacemaker for the atrial fibrillation, and as a result of that pacemaker, she was able to reduce her medications to just a couple now. But one of the medications that she was taking, which was the Coumadin, which is a blood thinner, mm-hmm. It prevented her from eating a lot of green leafy vegetables, vitamin K, and so as a result of that, she really couldn't get into a lot of the nutrition things that I was trying to help her with. But now that she's off of it, I'm slowly starting to get her to introduce green juice into her diet, and I think that's just going to be tremendous for her condition. So I'm just happy that, number one, that they're still around, and number two, that they're willing to make these lifestyle changes at their age. They're also drinking alkaline water, and I'm trying to get them to not go out to eat as much, but hey, baby steps.
Yeah, right. I mean, for a lifetime of eating and having the habits and eating conventional food, it's baby steps at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, again, talking about your sphere of influence, I just want to lead by example and help people. And there's so many just personal stories and personal accounts. I helped my sister-in-law get off of her arthritis medication by juicing. She had severe rheumatoid arthritis, and the juicing just helped her tremendously, and she was able to get off of her medication. So I'm very happy for that. And there's just so many stories and so many testimonies that natural cures work. Where conventional medicines, sure, they'll mask the symptoms, but they're not actually going to cure anything. Mm-hmm. If you've got, let's say you have a rock in your foot, is the doctor going to remove the rock or get to the root cause, or is he going to prescribe a painkiller for that, for your foot that hurts? And that's what I tell people, to give them analogies like that. Looking back on it now, would I have had the surgery? Probably not. I probably would have just tried to cure it myself, naturally. because, when you cut off a tumor, is that really the cancer, or is the cancer, more internal than that physical manifestation?
Right.
Would you cut off your nose if you had a runny nose? No, that's not going to fix the problem. You had a cold. You have to treat the actual illness, and the result, and the underlying causes of that disease, which in this case, was a poor diet and lifestyle. And you do that by addressing, fixing your immune system so that your body is able to essentially keep the cancer at bay. And that's what I did, is a total transformation, and it definitely works. And my story continues. I'm still on the journey, and I hopefully we'll get to continue that journey and help people along the way. That's what I really like to do. That's what I feel my life's purpose is.
That's amazing. And so, where are you now with everything in terms of your lifestyle? Are you your lifestyle? Are you 100% vegan? Are you doing raw? Are you doing paleo? What's kind of like your current program?
Justin, I'm really not big on labels. I don't like the term vegan. I don't like the term paleo. I just like to eat real food. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I just like to eat clean, real food. Am I 100%? I try to eat mostly plants, mm-hmm. But you just have to listen to your body. Sometimes you get the craving for, a lean meat-based protein, and we'll do it, But it's more about clean eating over just 100%, one way of thinking, because there are differences in, meat-based omegas versus plant-based omegas, and I found those differences, you have to pay attention to really optimize, your omega intake. But I was, 100% plant-based while I was treating my cancer. I would say I'm low to no meat. And, you just have to listen to your body. Mm-hmm. But you just eat clean, eat real food. And there's actually, I've come up with an acronym that kind of categorizes what my diet really consists of, which is, I call it SCARF, which stands for sprouted, cooked, raw, and fermented. So I try to hit all four of those categories in everything that I'm eating. Obviously, sprouted foods are more nutrient dense, and cooked. When you look at things like tomatoes and carrots, where you can get more, lycopene and beta carotene is more intense when you cook it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily talking about meat when I say cook. And even steaming carrots or steaming broccoli. My wife makes a killer dish where, one of our crops that we grow is chard, and Swiss chard usually grows like a weed. I mean, you can have tons and tons of chard for several months at a time. But she'll cook it, and, you can put big bunches of chard in a big pot and it'll shrink down, and then she'll put some fresh chopped garlic with balsamic vinegar, and it is amazing.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It is so good. So that's always on the menu. So cooked, and of course raw is a huge aspect of my diet. And I normally get my raw foods from juice. Uh-huh. I juice every single day. And I'm kind of militant in, I want to make the juice. I don't want to go out and buy it. Sometimes I do. If I have a busy day or I'm out on the road, I'll stop and buy juice, but I want to make it every day. And that's really like a Zen practice for me, because I'm taking an active part in my health by physically taking the time to make the juice. You are taking control of your health, and you are actively participating in your own health. So that's raw. And then fermented, my main source of fermented food is kombucha for me. I'm a big kombucha advocate, and it's part of my daily routine. And I've even, my mother-in-law, for example, when she was going through her cancer ordeal, breast cancer, she was also celiac, so she couldn't have, for the kale, even though it's not gluten. For some reason, the leafy greens were agitating her stomach.
Oh, wow.
She couldn't really get into it. And so I started her on a kombucha regimen first to heal her gut. And then she was able to start drinking the juice. So yeah, that's really my main method of eating is sprouted, cooked, raw, and fermented. What I call SCARF. I think it's an easy acronym that way I can remember to hit all four of those items.
Yeah, I think we're moving away as a culture from, or at least from people that are more awakening. I think we're moving away from labels and judgments around those labels and ideas about categorizations and people that are, 100% this, 100% that. I've found that we're moving away from that type of thinking, and I think it's long overdue.
And not to alienate people who are proud to call themselves vegan. They're great people. Most of my friends on Instagram, a lot of them are vegan, and they're typically vegan for humane, ethical reasons. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the factory farming situation that we have in this country is horrible. And so there's ethical reasons, and then there's the nutritional aspects of being a vegan or plant-based. And one thing that you got to be careful about is vegan doesn't necessarily mean healthy. I mean, you can be on a diet of corn nuts and Skittles and technically call yourself a vegan. That doesn't, so I think it's very important to be aware of what you're eating, even if you are a vegan, that you want to stick to real food, plant-based. That's the way to go. I mean, I could give up meat tomorrow and never have it again. I did it for a while, and I could do it again forever, and it wouldn't bother me. But my kids, when we changed our diet and lifestyle, we had to transition them as well. And in order to make that transition as clean and as easy as possible, we took it slow. And so we started introducing one thing at a time. How do you get them from, junk food to juice, or from cookies to kombucha?
Right.
It's a slow process. It's a slow burn. And the way that we did it was just by introducing, okay, we're going to have this Swiss chard. It's, the balsamic dressing. It's different, but, try it. Let's try a few bites and just kind of encourage them to eat it. But where they really came into play was in the juicing. I always post pictures of my kids helping me make juice or make smoothies, and I get them involved in the process. And I call my youngest son Alex the Kale Kid, because he always likes to help me make juice. I mean, he's so excited to do it. And he loves drinking his green juice. He calls it Hulk juice because he's really into the Hulk. Nice. As a superhero. And my daughter really, really loves kombucha. She's always asking for it. And so we stopped allowing our kids to have the school lunch. We make all of our food every day. We make their lunch. And obviously, because you look at the school lunches that are provided in this country, it's all GMO. Mm-hmm. So how can we, in good conscience, let them eat that? We can't. So yeah, you got to really, really kind of make sure, if you're sending your kids off to school, that they're going to be eating at least, if you can allow them to have access to the green juices and green smoothies, to the green powders and all kinds of really cool stuff that is available. You can do that in the house, and then before they, so if they go off to school and they eat the school lunches, at least they're getting something good in the home, I think. Absolutely. And we usually do all of our meal prepping on Sunday night. And we'll get the whole family involved, and everybody's, chopping carrots and cucumbers. And my wife makes everything from scratch. She'll make her own ranch dressing instead of store-bought, and she'll make, just everything. She's able to transform any dish into something clean, and it still tastes just as good, if not better. Wow. So I have to give her kudos for that. But she keeps me well fed. That's so cool that your family is on board with everything you're doing. Because like you're saying before, man, if it were
if you have a contention in the home when, you know, people trying to prevent you from doing, you know, what you want to do, what a added, I mean, that's the last thing that you need is an added stress, right?
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still some tensions that arise when we go to family gatherings. We bring our own food, and where the conflict comes into play is with the kids and whether or not we're going to allow them to have cake at birthday parties, you know, ice cream, cookies, Halloween candy, and all the, you know, everything that goes with it. So we go through phases where we're more militant and we say, no, you absolutely cannot have cake or Halloween candy or anything like that.
Right.
And then sometimes we're more relaxed, but I just find myself, the biggest objection that I hear is, come on, it's just one time. It's a birthday party. It's just one time. Okay, yeah, it's one time. But there's a birthday party every weekend almost.
Right.
And there's Halloween, and then there's Christmas, and then there's Easter, and then it never ends. And so you kind of have to draw the line somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, for Halloween, we do something called the Switch Witch, where we go out and trick or treat, we get all the candy, but then we come home and the kids trade the candy for toys or for other things.
Oh, good idea.
And so the candy is used like as a currency. We get rid of the candy, we throw it away, and they're just left with, you know, their toys or whatever that they switched it out for. And that works for us.
That's cool. That's really a cool, unique way of doing that. Has this affected your business yourself in terms of how you are bringing in money, or have you changed, or like, are you still doing the same kind of work and then you want to change, or what's the professional side for you like these days?
For me, I was laid off with the company that I was with in 2015,
mm-hmm.
and for me that was kind of a sign that, you know, hey, maybe you need to concentrate on something else and start doing something else and be more self-sufficient. Well, I'm lucky in that, of course, my wife has her business, you know, to help us at home with income. But, you know, everything is kind of pushing me in this direction. And so that's why, you know, I'm constantly seeking to, you know, to add to my platform on social media, you know, to add friends and followers on social media. And I'm in the process of writing a book. And I really want to get out there and, you know, share my story. And I would love to, you know, to give talks and to, you know, to have my book published or just to publish it myself on Kindle and just kind of get out there and try to, you know, bring in money that way.
Mm-hmm.
I toyed with the notion of becoming a holistic health coach or health advocate and have a practice, but that didn't really speak to me, because when you start putting profit over people, then I'm no better than my oncologist. And for me, I help people. I mean, I have people calling me or, you know, reaching out to me almost on a daily basis, and I try to help as many as I can, but I like the energy that I get from it. And for me, I'm putting bank into my karmic bank. You know, I'm getting good energy from it. And by keeping that energy going, by giving, you know, you receive. And that's what I'm all about. My family's blessed. You know, what we're doing now is working, and if I can just reach out and help as many people as possible, I know that I'm just putting good energy, good karma in my bank, and that good things are going to come for me. And so I trust the timing of the universe.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so great, because there are many, many people that are going to have the same kind of story you do, and there are many people that are going to wake up eventually someday, and a lot of sick people out there. And, you know, that's the same mission we have here is by offering these types of interviews. You know, it changes people's lives, you know. We have no idea who this is going to affect or impact, or someone could listen to this in 5 years. I mean, we have people that listen all over the world, and thousands of people listen to every show, and it's just, I don't know, it's just awesome to be able to put out or to be a part, I think more importantly, to be a part of transformation in terms of not just intellectually, but with health and with mindset and with everything, spirituality, and that in turn, more and more people doing this, saturating the world with this kind of positive information, eventually changes the world. The more people that do this type of work and put good information out, the better the world is.
Absolutely. And, change begins with you, just like Gandhi said. And I believe that we are all kind of the heroes in our own story. Mm-hmm. We're all, the whole world's a stage, but we each have our own little movie playing out, over the course of our life. And, for me, that I was at that point where you hit rock bottom, and it's when you're at your lowest point is when you're open to the greatest change. It's what I found. And that rock bottom, was the catalyst for this whole journey, and to be able to just have that sphere of influence reaching out is really, really awesome and powerful stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just something that I want to keep doing, mm-hmm. forever.
That's awesome. So people can get a hold of you. Your Instagram is really cool. You have a lot of cool stuff. You're the Green Health Project on Instagram, but it's your website is transformwithtom.net. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Transform with Tom, and then you're on Facebook as well. And I think all of that's linked to from your website, right?
It is.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Tom, for spending some time with us. Thanks for sharing your story, and let's do it again.
I would love to. I had a great time, and any chance I get to spread the message out there, I'll take it. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great because we love to talk with people like you who. A lot of people, it's interesting, like we'll get emails back, we'll reach out to certain people, and I won't say who they are, but we'll reach out to people, and their first response is, what is your, what is the size of your following? Mm-hmm. And I just think to myself, okay, well, that's just immediately, I'm not going to reach out to that person again, because our following is big, but I kind of feel like for me, I can kind of see where people's hearts are. And I'm not judging that. It's just that I really want to protect our audience from people that just want numbers and just want, only to, talk to people who are going to have a big following and impact their business and bottom line and that kind of thing. And, when we get to speak with people like you, it really, really is refreshing because I can tell your heart's in the right place. And, to those people that write back that, I usually just say, well, my goal is to help anybody who will listen. And if only one person ever listens to the podcast that we do with XYZ, whoever it is that we spoke to, if only one person ever listens to that and their life changes for the better, I consider my work done. And I'll write back, maybe this wasn't a good fit. Thank you very much. And then I just move on to the next person, because what I really want through our show here is to talk with people like you. I can tell that you're in it for the right reason. You're in it to help people, and there's nothing wrong with changing a career and earning money from helping people like you're doing. But I can tell your heart's in the right place, and it's just so refreshing. And I can tell that you really, really want to help people, and you've gone through so much yourself. And I got to tell you, it's very refreshing. Because that just happened. That story that I just told, it's probably happened 50 or 60 times since we've started, and it just happened again a couple days ago. And I just feel like, wow, what a refreshing thing it is to speak with someone like you.
Well, thank you so much for that. Again, all I can do is be authentic, and that's one of the things that I pride myself on, is just telling my story. And hey, if it works for you, great. I absolutely love to help people, and the feedback that I get online, it's like I did a post the other day on Instagram where I said, it's not about the likes that I get. It's mm-hmm. about the energy. Like I said, it's about helping people. It's about getting that positive feedback, and that's what really fills my bucket and keeps me going. If one day I can make a career out of this, then great. And if all it ever is is this, and I'm not able to monetize it, then that's okay too. Because like I said, I'm still benefiting from it. I'm still putting the information out there, and I'm getting back a lot of positive energy and a lot of good vibes. And again, that's what's, I believe, is keeping my family going strong and blessed, is that, current paper currency is just that. It's tangible. It's not real. What is real is the energy that you get, and the real currency, which is love and positivity. That's the stuff that can keep you going. And eventually you'll be able to sustain yourself physically from that. That vibe, the positivity will translate into money eventually, if that's what you need. Some people are so poor that all they have is money. Well, I don't want to be one of those people.
Right.
I want to be rich, and I am rich. I am rich in love and in health, and prosperity, and in family. And that's the real currency for me.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's what it's all about, right? Is your health, your family, your love, people that you care about, doing work and helping people. That's really what it's all about. And the money is just there to sort of sustain us while we are able to do those things. And the thing is the thing, and the thing is just helping people and being in it for the right reasons, and wanting to.
That's right.
Yeah, wanting to be there for people. Now, do you do consultations? Like, can people contact you and you can have a talk with them, or
yes,
can they do that?
Absolutely. It's nothing formal. It's very informal. So people, reach out to me via Instagram or via Facebook or via my website. There's a place where they can send me a message on my website, and I will reach out to them. It might take me a while, but I'll eventually get back to you. I'll try to do it as fast as I can. And, I don't charge anything per se, a set amount, but if they want to make a donation, they're more than welcome to. But again, the consultation that I do is nothing formal. It's all very informal. And I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. But again, that being that I'm not a doctor, that gives me the freedom and the ability to really address things that as they need to be addressed, and not just from one viewpoint.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you too, when is your book coming out? Do you have any ideas on when that will be released?
I'm currently writing it. I'm about halfway into it. I hope to have that out within the next few months. But when I do, I'll definitely put it out there on my website and on social media. And I would love to actually come back on the show and just talk about that specifically.
That'd be great.
If I could, yeah. Because what I really want to do is make it a comprehensive approach. I mean, there's 1,001 books about how to heal cancer, but my unique spin on it is, what we touched on is the healing, the whole person, transformational healing, and not using negativity in using the words fight cancer, and so on. So I do have a unique spin on it, but it's not going to be just about cancer. It's just going to be about transformational healing in general. Cancer was just the catalyst for me, but it may not be for other people. It might be diabetes. It might be something else. It might not even be a disease. So it's just going to be a guide on how to make the change in your life that you need to start being healthy inside and out.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, let us know when you release that book. Let us know. Contact us, and we'll do another show.
Well, thank you very much. I certainly will.
Awesome. So the website is transformwithtom.net, correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right, hang on the line there, Tom, and I want to just sort of close out the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you guys know anybody who has, I should say this, I should rephrase that. If you know anybody whose body has cancer, because none of us really have cancer, we're all spirit. Spirits can't have cancer. So if you know anyone whose body has cancer, please pass the show on to them. This was episode 459. So if you go to extremehealthradio.com/459, please, pass the show on to them. And I think they could get some really great nuggets out of it, and have them contact Tom as well at transformwithtom.net. And once again, thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate you guys so much. We are doing 3 shows a week now, so stay tuned with us on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube and iTunes. You can subscribe on iTunes. And thanks, by the way, for all the people that have been leaving reviews lately on iTunes. We really appreciate it. That helps us a lot. So we appreciate your reviews on iTunes if you like the show. That really helps us. So thank you very much for that. And again, his website is transformwithtom.net. Instagram is the Green Health Project. Follow him on there. He's got some really cool stuff on there, I have to say. We follow him and we're friends on there, and we comment back and forth, and it's pretty cool. So the Green Health Project on Instagram. There you go. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Okay, so what did you guys think about Tom's journey? We normally have been cutting the shows down to about an hour or so in lieu of doing more shows per week, but this one I just felt like we really had to dive deeper and to really get into Tom's story. What did you guys think about his whole journey? It's an amazing thing. I find it particularly amazing, when I hear people that have this transformation, because I had a very similar transformation that I shared on the show, and it has to do with more of a spiritual transformation, and I cannot express this enough or share this enough that when I changed my diet back in 2003, many of you guys know the story, so many people that have listened in, but a friend of mine gave me a book called Fit for Life, and that changed my whole perspective on health, on healing, and what's possible and what's really going on. But man, that was the biggest transformation, because it's weird. I don't know if you guys feel like this, but for me, it feels like, a lot of people look at their health as something that's like, I don't know, it's just a physical thing. Like they want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. They want to get a 6-pack abs. They want to be able to fit into their skinny jeans. They want a tighter butt. They want tighter thighs. They want to lose weight, off their midriff or whatever, their stomach. But for me, I always knew it was much deeper than that. And when I started to understand that, the foods you eat, the electrically charged foods you eat that are living, that contain enzymes and electrons, and they have electrical energy and potential to them when you eat them in the raw state, have a profound impact, at least it did for me, on my mind. And it helped me to embark on a complete transformational process that helped me open my mind, helped me to expand my consciousness, it helped me to look deeper into religion, philosophy, history, what we're doing here. It was the most incredible journey that I've ever been on. And when I hear people talk about food, and most of the time, don't you think it's weird that most of the time people will talk about, food and diet, and they don't realize that food and diet has an impact on just about everything we do in this world? I mean, it affects everything, doesn't it? People think, just someone's getting healthier or someone's eating better, but really it affects politics. It affects, obviously, our health. It affects agriculture. It affects our climate. It affects other entities on this planet, like animals. It affects our own spirituality. It affects, every industry. It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible how many things that eating a better diet affects. Economics, obviously, because you're spending your money in different places. It affects, I think the biggest thing that it affects is a change in consciousness, a change in the ability for people to, got the phone ringing here, but it affects the people's ability to think in a deeper way. At least it did for me. So it allowed me to go on a spiritual journey. It allowed me to go on and embark on a path that I never thought I'd ever go on. And it opened my mind up. I feel like these minerals and electrons and living foods and bacteria were affecting my ability to look at the world in a different way. So it was awesome talking with Tom. And like I said during the show, we've had so many people, when I respond back to people, when I invite guests to come on the show, and they say, how many people are in your following, And I just think that I don't know, that I'm just a bit put off by that, because I have such a tremendous respect for you guys. And for me, when you're listening to this, you're not a number. You're not a statistic, like Tom was saying. You're not just some number. And when people respond to me, I know I kind of diverged and went off a little bit of a tangent there, but when people respond to me in that way, it just really shows me their true intentions. And it's to treat it like a business, and treat it like a money thing. And, you guys, to me, aren't a way to make money, I don't understand that, with people. I mean, I guess if your intentions are that you're interested in natural health and you want to make a lot of money, I guess that you would be concerned about how many people are going to listen. But, I'm very protective of you guys and of all of you listeners. And I'm not going to, I'm just not going to really stand for that. I'm not going to really allow people to be on the show when their first response is that, because you guys are more than a number. You guys are friends. I meet you guys. I've met many of you in person at different events and things, and out in health food stores and stuff like that. I've met you guys, and you're awesome, and you're not just a number. And so I don't know how I got off on that tangent. How did I get off on that tangent? How's that happen? I'm not sure, but in any event, I'm very protective of you guys, and I don't want to just have someone on here who's just going to be selling their product or program. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with selling a product or program. But the person's heart has to be in the right place. And one of the ways I determine that, and it's just a judgment call on my part, but one of the ways I do that is I determine whether or not they're in it for the money. And the way I determine that is if their response is, how many people are in your network? And the last person I responded to, I said, you know what? We are interested in helping individual people. So I don't care if one person listens to this or 20,000 people listen to it. If we're able to help one person change their life, then that's all that matters for me. And I said, I'm sorry, but this doesn't seem like a good fit. I appreciate it. And I said, thank you so much, Justin. And I, just left it at that. And, we have a huge following. We have lots of people, many people, thousands of people listen to every show around the world at different times. But it's not about that. It's not about selling you guys to some person who wants to sell their product to you. So, it's just one of those things, I'm just leery of that. If the person's selling something to you that I think is good and their intentions are right and the product is amazing and I can tell they're in it for the right reasons, then it's okay, I mean, people have to make a living. I understand that, but I have to make that determination. So in any event, enough about that. I was curious what you guys thought about Tom, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation. That was a lot of fun, and I could tell that his heart was in the right place, and the journey that he's been on has been quite transformational, as you can probably tell. And that's what happens, when you get on this path, it becomes about, self-development, personal development. It's about personal growth. It's about being the best person you could be. It's about working on yourself on the emotional levels, on the physical levels, on the spiritual levels, on the on every level. And that's what we're all about here, and that's what we're doing here at Extreme Health Radio is we're trying to become better. We're trying to become healthier so we can have the energy to live out our dream and to live out our dharma, live out our destiny. That's what all this is about. A lot of us have moved beyond food, and that's great. But food is what sustains us. And so taking care of ourselves has to be at a very high priority on the list. And so when you do that, you have energy to give to other people. You have energy to pursue your dreams. You have energy to do the things that you want to do, spend time with your kids, not, sleeping because you're tired because you ate too much sugar, so it's all intertwined, all this stuff. And so, yeah, I hope you enjoyed his story there. I found it to be very inspirational and very cool. It's great, and I'm glad that he's doing what he's doing, and we should have him on again. And so, yeah, if you enjoyed it, please pass the show on to your friends. That would be cool. You can always comment on the show itself, too, extremehealthradio.com/459. And we're going to be doing, we are doing 3 shows a week now, so stay tuned for that. So make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher. If you have the Stitcher app on your cell phone, you can subscribe on there, too. And thanks also for you guys for again, I know I mentioned this already, but for your reviews on iTunes. That's really helpful. We are on a mission to help millions of people around the world, and when you do that and leave your reviews, that helps us attain more people on iTunes, and that helps us to spread the message that there's hope. There's things out there that we don't know about, that we've never heard of, that many people have never heard of. There's hundreds of things that I've never heard of, that I've yet to be exposed to yet. And so, my mission is to take you along on this journey with me and learn as much as we can, and learn and study and see if we can achieve higher levels of health and well-being and happiness and be better people in the world. Ultimately that's what it's all about, to affect change in the world. And we need energy, and we need to feel good, and we need to not be constantly working on these health problems, health challenges that we have. We need to take that energy, we need to heal from that stuff and take that energy into changing our lives, and doing something that we're meant to be doing. And I think ultimately that's what it's all about, because, it's weird because the world is so extreme on one side of it, right? People think, oh, it's extreme to do coffee enemas, but really it's pretty extreme to eat McDonald's. It's pretty extreme to eat, to live sedentary lives and to sit down for 8 hours a day and to be stressed out all day long and have financial worries and, eat genetically modified food. I mean, that to me is an extreme lifestyle. So is it equally as extreme to do coffee enemas? Probably, but that's assuming, funny, because people think that you're crazy or too extreme because all you're focused on is your health, but really it's not all that we're focused on. We have to be focused on our health in an extreme way, sort of to balance out the karmic imbalance that's been imposed upon us for our entire lives, right? We've been, living lives that is, quote, normal in our society, but it's really not normal. This life that we're grown up living is not normal. And so it's almost like an extreme way of counterbalancing the abnormalities that we've been exposed to our entire lives. But really, when you get back on the healing path and you heal yourself, then you can get back into more of a maintenance thing. And it's like for me right now, I haven't been doing meditation lately. We were involved in a big move here. We're getting set up and unpacking and stuff. So I haven't meditated in quite some time. But I do my Qigong exercises. And if you're interested in that, there's a program in our store for that. But I do that. And but it's really, once you get to a level of health that you feel good about and you have the energy to do all the things in your life you want to do, maintaining that is pretty normal. It doesn't take a whole lot to maintain that. And so you only have to be extreme for a little while just to kind of cleanse your body out of the 29, 30, 40, 50 years of abnormal living and extreme living in the other direction. But really, for me, I mean, I don't really think about health that much at all. It's such a part of my life that, I do a green juice. Haven't done one in about a week or so because we've been moving and unpacking and stuff, but we're going to be doing one today. But we've been buying them lately. But it just becomes a part of your life, and it's who you are, and you don't really think about the food or diet other people do, because that's their journey and that's what's in it for them, and the results they get from that is the results that they want, and there's something beautiful about that. That's part of their karma. It's part of their destiny. And if they choose to change, that's awesome. If they don't choose to change, that's awesome as well. And we are not here to be on a mission to change how everybody eats. For me, I just feel like I'm here to let people know about possibilities. So if you feel particularly called to do coffee enemas every day, or do a vegan diet, or do a raw meat diet, whatever it is, or do hyperbaric oxygen chambers, stuff like that, there's some pretty extreme things you can do. And that's awesome. And I want to let people know that they exist and they're helpful and they're powerful. And that's really what it's ultimately all about for me. It's to let people know there's options. There's things that doctors don't know about. Our friends and family don't know about. And so, as long as we have all the options, what you choose is your dharma, is your destiny. And, for me, I choose all that good stuff for me. And I really don't care if friends and family eat, pizza, hot dogs. I've been able to more or less let that go and just say, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. That's great. If you want to change your life and start going for healthier things, let me know and I can help you out. If not, we can still be friends, and there's no love lost. I'm not trying to make anybody convert anybody. So that's kind of the journey that I've been on lately. The last 10 years is just not trying to force anybody to do anything, and let everybody have their own journey, and realize that maybe we're not right all the time. Maybe we're incorrect, and we can't tell people what to do. That's one of the biggest struggles, isn't it? You have a wife or a husband or a mom or dad, and you want to help them out, but they don't want to help themselves. You know, that's a struggle, isn't it? That's hard. See, that's where the spirituality comes in, because, you know, what good does it do? What good is it to become an angry health advocate, right? That doesn't help them at all. So when, what's the quote? When the student is ready, the master appears, the teacher appears. So when they're ready, they'll come to you, you know, and that happens a lot with us. You know, we have people in our life that either made fun of us or don't agree with us or don't think what we're doing is you know, we'll do anything, and health doesn't, you know, eating a good diet doesn't affect anything. And then when they get sick, they come to us, and, you know, it's at that point we can help them out and not judge them, because that's their journey. So hopefully you enjoyed that show. I thought it was really cool. I wanted to go longer, but you know, to be cognizant and aware of your time, I don't want to go for 2-3 hours. So we'll have Tom on again. He's a great guy. I can tell he's really into some cool stuff. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, I think it's the Green Health Project. And on his website is, let me check his website again really quickly. transformationwithtom.net. Don't go to .com. I don't know what's at .com, but it's transformationwithtom.net. So if you guys are interested in diving a little bit deeper, a little bit further, want to get real answers to the root cause of your health challenges, we are launching a brand new membership-only community, an exclusive private community where people can join and get access to two awesome people. One is a former medical anesthesiologist. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, who's turned to the good side, should say. No, but he does. He's been on our show a couple times, and he's great. Former medical anesthesiologist, had his license taken away because he wouldn't disclose patient records to the FDA, I think it was. But has quite a story to tell about that. But he's gone to the natural alternative path, and he talks a lot about spiritual, emotional connections to our health, and he's got a million protocols for different ailments. And one of the cool things about him too is he recognizes that everything's individualistic. So, you know, one person may need different protocols or be sensitive to certain things, or one person might thrive off a vegan diet, another person might thrive off a paleo diet, another person might thrive off a ketogenic diet. And so he's sympathetic and copacetic with all those diets, and he works with people individually, reading their blood, and he's just a great guy under the microscope. He's awesome. So we have him on board, and we have his partner in crime, who's been a naturopath for 40 years. And so what we do there in the forum it's Perpetual Healing is the name of the community, because our bodies are perpetually healing. So what we do there is we offer exclusive access to them, and we take their questions. So we'll take listener questions and dive deep into the root causes of these questions and different protocols people can do every month. And so it's really a great way to have access to two people who are very extremely open-minded, who aren't dogmatic about you need to follow this diet or that diet, and two people who have an insane amount of expertise and experience working directly with people and in their own health journey. The lady that we're working with in that private membership community overcame colon cancer naturally after she was following a raw food diet, if you can imagine that. Isn't that crazy? You follow a raw food diet, you think you're doing the best thing for yourself, but apparently for her, it wasn't the best thing for her at that time. But maybe it was, because she learned a lot from it, right? So, but she, anyway, was following a raw food diet and discovered she had colon cancer, and the journey and transformation she went through to overcome that, and then been on this path for 40 years helping people overcome their issues, has been pretty remarkable. So, yeah, we work with them, and we're going to be doing yearly cleanses and protocols. So every season, kind of like Daniel Vitalis, he works a lot with the seasons and cycles of every season around the year. So we're going to be doing different cleanses as a group every year. So it's really cool. So we're going to be sort of seen by them and coached by them, and we'll be, record coaching calls and, talk about, what the cleanse is doing for us and why we should stay on it. And so we'll be doing those 4 times a year, as well as online classes teaching you guys all kinds of in-depth information about different protocols and things. We're going to be providing lessons, audio lessons for you guys where we dive deeper. We're going to be answering your live Q&A calls. We are going to, do webinars and sharing with you guys awesome information. This stuff that you're going to hear from them, you're not going to hear anywhere else. I've only ever heard it from them, and they have some incredibly unique perspectives on health and healing. One of them is cancer is the body's healing mechanism. Isn't that weird? Cancer is the body's attempt to heal itself. Very fascinating, right? You think, oh, a heart attack killed someone. No, the heart attack was the body healing itself. So you may ask, well, how come the person died of a heart attack? Well, that's where we get it all mixed up, because we're thinking about disease all wrong. If that intrigues you, go on over to the website that I'm talking about and learn more about it there. So, so that's open and available for people, and we hope you enjoy that. Oh, there's also really great forums on that website too, where you can log in, or create an account on there, and share your stories of healing and transformation with other people in the community. And the reason why it's private is so that we don't have any sort of government entities looking over our shoulders. I mean, there's always that, but we want to make sure that it's more private for people, and this is a group that we all choose to belong to. So, it's awesome. I'm really stoked, and it's one of the most awesome things I've ever done in my life, and it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, is to create this type of in-depth, tight-knit member community with awesome people who are on the same path of healing as we are. So, so if you want to join that group, feel free to do that. It's, it's called Perpetual Healing is the name of the community. And if you want to go to it, just go to extremehealthradio.com/459. And that's the link or the show note to this particular page. And when you do that, you can click on the Perpetual Healing link there under show notes, and you'll be able to see a link to that. So that will be a way that you can learn more about what it's all about and what you get for it and all of that good stuff. So also, I want to thank you guys for shopping through our Amazon link. I really appreciate that. That helps us so much. We really cannot thank you enough for that. So if you make regular purchases on Amazon, consider going through our link and think about the work that we're doing here at Extreme Health Radio, and consider supporting us. Because a lot of people say to me, oh, they can't support. A lot of people support us via Patreon or PayPal, and they'll send us $1 or $2 or $5 a month, or 25 cents a show, or whatever it is. But then some people write in and say, I can't support you, I don't have any money, and that's totally fine. We don't need that. But if you want to support us and you make purchases on Amazon, please consider. Just all you got to do is click on the link on the right-hand side of our website, or bookmark it, and use the bookmark every time you make a purchase. But that helps us. So think about us every time you make an Amazon purchase, and think about how you can support us, and that's really helpful too. So we thank you for that, and we also thank you for buying all the unique health products in our store, like the sauna, the Qigong program I mentioned, the Bellicon rebounder, the Biomat, all kinds of really cool stuff, blenders, juicers, inversion yoga trapezes and blenders, and all kinds of really cool cutting edge stuff, cleanses, all kinds of cool stuff in our store. So thank you for visiting our store and buying any of the products on there. That helps us too. All right, that was that's got to be almost 2 hours, right? Pretty close to it. So thank you guys so much, and we love you all, and let us know if we can ever help you. That's what we're here for, to help serve you, and to help you guys live a better life. And if there's ever anything we can do for you, please let us know. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes. Thank you for sharing our shows on Facebook. You guys rock. You're awesome. Wow, we couldn't do this without you guys. So you guys are amazing. We have the best listeners in the whole world. Man, you guys are so cool. So we appreciate you so much. We've got such a tight-knit community, and the emails that we get from you guys are so cool. And you guys are just, I don't know. I love it. It's so cool to have. I feel like this is almost like a health insurance for us to have access to such an awesome community of amazing people and listeners and things. It's great, man. We're just 2016. What an amazing time to be alive, right? Got the internet, got YouTube videos, we got live videos, we got. I don't use Snapchat or anything like that, but there's Snapchat, there's Instagram. I mean, a lot of people complain about these social networks, but man, I tell you, if it wasn't for Facebook and YouTube, whether or not they be CIA driven or whatever, I have learned a heck of a lot from those platforms and from different podcasts I listen to, and from you guys too. You guys write in and share things with us that are just I've never even heard of. I've been doing this full time since 2003. Man, I've been at this for 13 years so far, and you guys still send in things I've never even heard about. So this is really cool. So you guys are awesome. All right, so I thank you for listening, and I really appreciate you guys a lot. And you guys are awesome. I love you all, and if we can ever help, let us know. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your support. Thank you just for listening, being a part of what we do. It's awesome. We appreciate it. All right, love you guys. Catch you guys on the next episode.
No material on